Hello, friends, and welcome to a Get in the Garage exclusive album review.
Yeah.
Awesome. Today we're going to be talking about the fifth studio album from the band Stoned Jesus. They hail from Kiev, Ukraine. They were formed in 2009. Their first album, First Communion, came out in 2010. Their hit song, I Am the Mountain, that blew up to, I think, like 15 million views on YouTube and kind of catapulted them into the arena of the stoner, doom, metal, rock scene. So, let's get into the new album. The new album is called Father Light. It's 6 songs, 43 minutes long. A couple of slow burners for sure. Let's go track by track. But before we do, Jeffrey, can you just give us those names, please?
Oh, I'll try my best. Kiev, Ukraine-based power trio. Igor Sidorenko on guitar and vocals. Sergei Sliuzar on bass and vocals. And Dmitro Zinchenko on drums.
There you have it, folks. So let's get into the album. First song, Interesting opener, I found, especially for a band that is kind of dubbed as like a stoner doom metal band. What did you guys think?
I thought it had some an interesting pace. Like you pointed out a couple weeks ago, and in talking to me about this, Pink started off her album a couple weeks ago with like a ballad acoustic track, and this is out of place for like a metal album to have a ballady acoustic track open up, which is interesting. It's a breath of fresh air, I think, for kind of like this genre. It adds texture to the album when later on we're gonna get heavy and riffy. I also thought the song was introspective in talking about, you know, the Father Light and this inner spirituality and all this kind of things, and adding that kind of context into what's going on. Also, this album is heavily themed around what is going on, I believe, in the Ukraine at the time, what's going on in their lives that they're living through. So in having like an acoustic track, a somber thing open it up, I thought it paced the album in an interesting way.
Not enough birds in the background.
Oh, the bird noises. I'm thumbing down the bird noises as well.
I love the bird noises.
Did you? I wasn't into
Parakeets.
I'm not
Ukrainian
gonna lie to you, though.
parakeets.
The first time I listened to it, I had earbuds in and I was standing outside and I put it in and I heard the birds and I was like, is it a cult for the bird? I mean, there's that many birds.
Is there a robin in my house?
Like, what is happening right now? And then I was like, oh shit, it's the song. I didn't realize it until after the fact. So yes, I think a bold choice to open an album with that. But after that, then we get.
Well, it kind of devolves at the end, too. It gets in
right.
this, like,
Did
30
you-
seconds.
Yeah.
It's like,
Did you guys like the pacing of that, how it opened up in that
Yep.
way?
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, you know, it's not totally foreign thing for the metal band to kind of. It's this like prelude style idea kind of thing, right? Where it like starts off to kind of like set a mood and a tone, and then the album starts. It's more of like an intro than it is like a first song.
I was kind of surprised that it was in English, and spoiler alert, the entire album is in English.
Yes.
Yes. No Ukrainian or.
So that was also a big shock to me
Yeah.
when because I was like kind of expecting it to be in like, because this is a new band for me, new record, so I was expecting it to maybe be in a foreign language, but interesting that it was in English.
Yeah. So onward we go. We get then flung into the first song. The second song, but the first
The cover of Donovan.
The first super long song at 11 minutes and 33 seconds long. It is Season of the Witch. Lots of twists and turns in this song. I found there to be proggy elements. I also found there to be a pretty intense Opeth rip about, you know, a halfway mark around this song. Very, very Opeth-y, in my opinion. Not that it was necessarily a bad thing. I enjoyed that, but I listened to it.
You're talking about the funky thing?
It's like when like when it starts getting a little bit. They start doing like these like half-steppy things, and this sort of like the way that the way the chord progressions
Not
and
the
stuff
full
are.
jazz chord section.
Yeah, no, that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It felt very Opeth-y to me. And I was like, this is kind of a rip. I don't know if
I kind
It's metal
of
music. It's all rip.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Yeah, and I have an oversimplification after.
See, I like that it had that part in it because the beginning of this song is so like doomy and chuggy and kind of like Season of the Witch, that kind of thing. And having that in the middle of it, I think, is a good texture breakup where it feels jammy and interesting, but not in a lost in space way, in a we wrote this out way.
Yeah.
The production on this is like the modern rocky production. I'm not a giant fan of like the full-on modern rock sound production that's on here, but that being said, it's not like the worst thing on earth either. It has some good guitar tone in it that isn't like the worst thing on earth. It's just that really, it's very very modernly produced. Not a lot of air in there, very tight on everything, right?
Yeah, I think I thought it was relatively. I mean, the vocals are pretty dry.
Yeah,
There's
that's
really not
kind
a
of what
whole
I mean
lot
too.
of-
There's a lot of dry on that vocal.
There's
Yeah, I
moments
think
where it opens up a bit,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of like I found the vocals to be a bit.
This
dry.
whole album feels like not first takes, but like one pass of everything.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
it is kind of that.
So that's why I didn't think it sounded like modern,
Oh, I guess
edited to death and all that
it's
stuff.
not edited to death, but it definitely has the big, drums, the big guitars on it. But it's not done to death. I'd say it's like in between of like a. But
Yeah.
I found that the song was cool. Season of the Witch, where it did that change up. It's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. Is like Jeff noted, this is a former Donovan Name of a Donovan song, which is almost about the same kind of like lyrical thing, in a way. So not a big fan of that there, but this this song is really cool. It's probably one of the most interesting things on this record, and a big like mammoth styled song in the way of like the Highway Star, Deep Purple, mammoth epics.
Right.
But
right.
this is like a stoner version of that, so I'm into it.
Yeah. Did you like the song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have very different tastes of production things. I feel exact opposite of what you guys are
You feel like
describing.
it's more of like a loose.
this
sloppy.
felt like poor dudes making an album with nothing and like no overdubs and like
Well,
I don't know.
that's.
I mean, I think what you mean though is that it's.
I
that,
kind of mean more what you just said. Is that it's more of like the flat. Like it's not a lot done to it on the outside. It's more of like this is like the guitar, the bass, and the drums and
Yeah.
the vocal on it. That's more what I mean. It has some like the playing is like loose and feely, and the guitars sound like good and airy. I didn't mean it like it's crunched to death. It just sounds like it's more of like the basic style of a rock recording nowadays, and it's not like atmospheric stuff in there or like super like guitar stuff that like stands out against like the what's going on in the chugging.
I think to that point. So I had said that oversimplification. I mean, listen, this is what it comes down to, right? Every one of these, this is, and like metalheads, please excuse me, because this might upset people. But like, let's be real, man. Every doom stoner metal band in all of existence is basically just trying to re-record Master of Reality, because that's the album, right? That's like the stoner doom rock metal album or whatever. And I think to your point, what you're saying, that album, there's like, you can kind of hear more room, a little bit more breath. It's a little bit softer, whatever. This one, I did have it just kind of like on my phone, and this isn't a great album to just listen to like on your phone if it's sitting on your table. But when the songs come in, it's immediately like, you get that. And I think that's what you mean, where it's like, it's
I
like
like
all
it.
the levels are just jacked super, super high, and you sort of get this kind of distorted thing. You don't think so?
Did you only listen to it on your phone?
No.
I
I
listened
listened
to
to
it.
it in my headphones as well, but I don't think it transferred to like a different kind of a speaker well. You know what I'm saying? Because like even when I listened to it on my laptop speakers, it didn't sound very good. It was only when I put my headphones on that I was like, oh, okay, I hear this now.
I agree, because I did
hear
it
what
both.
he's
I
trying to
did it
do.
the phone too, and then I blasted it through my like setup down here, and it was like in the setup, it's you getting all that movement in it.
Well, because
but-
there's so much. I think in the heavy stuff, there's so much low end that the small speakers they can't handle it.
Oh yeah, I never listen to anything just with my like phone speaker.
But that's like a small test that I like to test every now and again.
Oh, I do too. I like
Just
to
to
hear
see,
what it's
just to see, because it's
I'll-
like if this is mixed really, really well, then even if it's on a small speaker, it should sound relatively well.
well,
Like,
I don't think it's a
relatively good.
mixing problem. I think it's like they were probably. It sounded like cheaper guitars and
Yeah.
shit like that. In my ear, there was a lot of dynamism on this record overall, the whole album. There were a lot of lower moments and then big moments, and it sounded kind of more like Single Coil's guitar tone, which has that extra like hair and fuzziness and isn't so like a humbucker can sound. But we can, just different opinions of how the overall thing sounds.
Well, on to the next song then, Thoughts and Prayers, because I think this song kind of was a little bit of a cleaner song, and then it kind of thickens up at the end. You get a little bit of that like sort of Phrygian mode-y kind of guitar stuff where it's like that sort of Egyptian sort of scaly kind of thing, which brings me to like more of a criticism I think for this record, which I think that, and again, we're talking about a doom stoner rock metal album. Everything's a derivative of everything. This album to me had a lot of those moments though where I was kind of like, some of this stuff sounds a bit stock. It sounds a bit kind of like, okay, yeah, because this is just what, and let me set the record straight. There are moments that are not like that. There are moments where I was like, oh, this is cool. This is kind of like them doing their own thing. But there were some guitar riffy moments that I was like, yeah, I'd rather just listen to Sleep do this. I'd rather just listen to, Witchcraft do this, or The Sword do this, or Pentagram do this, or something. You know what I'm saying? Like that, and that's just me. That's a personal opinion, but
this is my least favorite song of the 6.
Oh, okay.
The guitars, I feel like could have been beefed up. The guitars are more sounding like Foo Fighters style, like rock stuff instead of metal type of sound.
Yeah.
And the highlight for this song is the last 45 seconds, which is the guitar solo at the very end. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I wish there had been more lead guitar. It's on the whole album, but especially on this song, because the song is fine, but it sounded like, like a Foo Fighters or Queens of the Stone Age or whatever modern radio rock crossover. I don't know. So yeah, this is my least favorite song. But.
Yeah.
I thought, again, like musically, I agree with that. It was more like in the like softer guitar kind of tone on it, which I thought paced the album kind of a little bit better, even though it wasn't my favorite thing. I thought it gave way to the hard like doom stonery riffs that can like kind of like after a while you're like, I've had enough of this. So I thought it paced the album really well, and I did like the song. For the lyrical content of it, I thought it themed well with the whole theme of the album. You have a lot of like you have Father Light at the beginning, and then this is like thoughts and prayers. They're kind of saying like thoughts and prayers are kind of empty if there's not any action behind it, and there needs to be reason and movement. I thought it really let me know what was going on in a sense of their lives. And for metal, which is sometimes kind of cut off on that kind of point, I thought they were really giving a lot of themselves and who they were as people in a band on that song. So that was a kind of a higher point for me, definitely lyrically on the record.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So next, Porcelain. I'd like to start off by saying I just thought of Tool. I heard this song and I was like, oh, I'm getting like heavy Tool vibes on this. Do you not agree?
No, it's just it's a metal band. Every metal band sounds
like
other
another metal band.
Yeah, I
kind of like how, but to your point, I'm going to jump off that and say I like how this band is. This is like categorically, and I went back and listened to some, like the older stuff and like not the whole records, but like spots in here and there. And a lot of their stuff was like really, really doomy before. And like this, and for me, when you have like a song like Thoughts and Prayers and then backlined with like this Porcelain tune, which isn't that whole chunkiness the whole time, I think it bodes well for them. And I think it does, it makes them a lot more just in what they're doing. They're covering a lot more metal territory. It makes them more viable of a band. I think like they're more accessible at this point too. Yeah. A lot of people can come in and enjoy stuff like this, and then you get like the real people that are like, oh, I really like that. It's the sludgy one the best, and maybe some people are like, I like the lighter stuff. You know what I'm saying? Though?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that it sounded like Tool as if that's a negative. Even with the other song where I said it sounded like Opeth, I'm not necessarily saying that's a negative, because that could be an entry point for people to like get into a band and then go into the backlog and be like, oh, okay, so they were like kind of a different thing. You know what I'm saying?
And breathing life into that doomy metal stoner genre that might be a little like stagnated, and adding more context into the backline of that what those bands do.
That's a big problem, man, is that like you get these bands and they're like, I mean, we were talking about it on the drive over, where it was like you get these bands who kind of like box themselves in and they go, okay, well, we are just the stoner rock band, and then they do the stoner rock band thing, and then I mean, we've been victims of it before. Luke and I were in a band however many years ago, and we were doing this kind of stoner rock sort of thing, and then something would come up and I'd be like, oh yeah, but we can't really do that because that's like doesn't really fit in there, and it's like, yeah, but screw that, you know what I mean? Like you can do whatever the hell you want to do, but metal in all its variations and stuff like that tends to have that thing where it's like
blueprints.
Well, we're a symphonic metal band, so we can't play the blues, so it's like,
This was one of my favorite songs on the record.
Yeah.
I would say probably my second favorite song. I liked the build. This was one of the songs that showed off a lot of the dynamics, where it's like a slow build, part by part comes in, and then the vocals come in. So it's like pretty spacey for a couple minutes, and then it gets strong. It has, I'm gonna call it breakdown. It's not really breakdown, but it like the instrumental part where it goes to just guitar with a like rest, just guitar with rest, just guitar rest, and then that bass tone comes in, and the bass tone is just like this like saw, like buzz saw. I love the bass tone for the last. I would say it's probably like the last 2-3 minutes of the song. Again, another song that I really like the guitar solo. It's such a short guitar solo. It's like 20 seconds maybe, but so I was just like, why can't you play like at least a 45-second solo?
I know, I agree.
I wanted more guitar solos. And this song especially, I'll agree with, because you were like, hear it, you're like, yes, more. I wanted more, and I wanted like loud guitar solos, like on some of this stuff, like really, really hammering home. But that's just my own maybe like shredder.
And maybe they do that live. Like I would imagine that they add 2 or 3 minutes to each song.
Yeah,
live.
extended versions and stuff. But I felt the same way, man. I'm like, because there's a lot of really cool, interesting guitar work all over this record, you know, and it seems well thought out and well planned and all that stuff. But yeah, every once in a while, man, you're just like, just give me that face melting shreddy guitar solo, because it's like perfect, especially something that if it's a slower burn song and stuff like that, there's nothing better than like just this big, crazy, you know, shredding guitar solo.
The Con.
Hold on.
My favorite song.
Oh.
My favorite song on the record, because it's the most. I'll say the most foreign, exotic, Ukrainian type of rhythms. It starts with 12/8, and then the majority of the verse is 9/8. The chorus is 5/8. It has some 6/8, 12/8 stuff. It's like the most interesting song, in my opinion. It has the gang vocals with the whole group, or at least guitar and bassist, both sing Khan. Yeah, I thought it was the most interesting song. My favorite song on the record.
I like that it was one of the I think it's the fastest song on the album too, and I like that too, because a well-paced album to me is a good album, and you know, being that it's the second to last song, at least it brings you up to bring you into the final track, you know. Yeah,
and for again another genre that is slow tempo, this was like fast paced, and like Jeff said, it had those interesting rhythms in it. It had like it has that like really like giddy up kind of thing going on. And again, you have like the lyrics being like, this is a con, like the things that they're saying aren't what they're really saying, and again, it's relating to their lives, and you could tell what's going on. And it backtracked with the last song, I think, like lyrically really, really well into like where it goes like con at the beginning of the song, which is production wise my favorite thing on this whole record, I think. It's really fun and like cool to start the song that way. Also shout out to Master Reality, where the smoke in the beginning of
Sweetly
coughing,
right? It sounds somewhat similar to that. But yes, the guitar tone on this I thought was really interesting too, with the strumming kind of fast. I really like this song. It is my favorite song on the record.
I think that's a unanimous decision. It's her favorite song on the record.
Yours as well?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Because for me, it's the most different. It's the most versatile. It shows like, oh, they can do,
And I like that it added like the doominess into like the weird time signature context into like a faster, like, not like thrashy, but it's like going towards like that kind of thing, and added a lot of cool stuff in here. So I really like that one.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the verses are 9/8, but the drums is still doing duple, you know, so in groups of 2. So like during the verses, if you don't really get those rhythmic things, you're kind of like thrown off. Like, oh wait, now the new line's starting like halfway through, but it, you know, just get locked into those weirdness,
into it.
There you go. And then the final track,
Get What You Deserve.
Get What You Deserve. This to me is great song, man. It's Doom City when it opens up, you know, and then it cleans up a little bit too.
And I like the melodic lines on this that he's singing. I think they're like interesting. I also kind of like that there's no like real growly like on any of this.
Right.
It's really trying to sing, and it's really like the vocal lines are interesting and cool, and not so much of the metal genre, but like, you know, he's really singing lines out, and I think those are really, really interesting.
His voice sounds so much like, to me, a perfect mix between Trent Reznor and Ozzy Osbourne. Like
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
something about I'm just making an assumption. I assume that English is not the first language, but there's something in the like anglicized accent of it and the tone that is so much a combination of those two guys' voice to me.
Maybe this is the thing too. Maybe you're pulling out like who he learned English from and like
it's
who he looks up to as a singer,
Yeah,
like
very
English
possible.
singers. It might be Ozzy, and it might be because like that happens a lot. That might be an
Yeah,
interesting
right.
take,
He
man.
sounded so much like Trent Reznor.
And maybe like that was like you know what I mean? The CD
Yeah.
that was like really big or something. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Leslie guitar
Yes.
all over the
Yep.
first half of this.
Yep.
The cool solo in the middle. This is the one song that does have some extended guitar solo stuff. The second half has the more. It's kind of the only track that has walls of guitar. You hear a bunch of different guitar tracks, and again, this brings back that grinding, like super cutting bass type of tone. And it ends with that minute of like devolving, like with all the distortion still holding
Yeah.
out and the feedback, and it's like cracking apart.
Like a computer guitar dying in
Yeah,
the
which
desert.
which it kind of echoes that 30 seconds at the end of the opener.
Right.
Father
yeah,
Light.
to kind of bookend it.
Yeah.
So all in all, what do we think then? Being that this is, I mean, I don't know about you guys. This is kind of my first go around with Stone Jesus, aside from the hit song from years ago. So
Okay, I'm going to give this record a solid 7. I liked it. I think it added breadth to like that doomy stoner metal genre. I thought there was a lot of great lyrical stuff on this record, a lot of great melodies on here. I'd like to see what they come out with next. I think it's going to be an even more textured, interesting, matured release. Also, I'd like to shout out that this band is now like touring internationally, as they were kind of stifled because of the pandemic beforehand, and they're really getting out there and spreading their message and doing their thing. So I'm going to say this is a 7. If you like metal, hard rock, this is a great new release. You should check it out. I was into it.
yeah, I'll agree. I'm gonna go 7.5 on this record. Things that I was a bit more critical about was I didn't absolutely love his voice. Like we stated too, I wish there were more guitar solos, but who knows? Maybe the next release will have more guitar solos. I thought tonally it sounded nice. I do love the guitar work that's on it, as well as like Jeff said, the the buzzsaw bass and all that stuff. I personally would just probably look elsewhere if I wanted to get this sort of metal-y hit. But I think it's a decent album, so 7.5.
I like this record a lot. It's not fully stoner, it's not fully doom, it's not fully modern rock. It's kind of right at the cross section of all of them. So you don't have to be like a heavy fan of any of those styles to enjoy kind of the breadth of what they give you. I would have loved to hear a little bit more seasoning on the vocals, something to sweeten it up, something to like expand it, some reverb, some more delays and special effects on that shit, because I think what they have going on is great. Another thing, like some more juice on the guitars just to thicken things up and make it a little bit more forceful. I would love to hear on their upcoming releases. I don't know what their budget is. I don't know who produced their music, but I think this is good stuff. This is an 8 for me.
There you go. There you have it. What do you guys think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let us know in the comments below. We'll see you next time, guys.
Peace.